Good evening. Let's read, but we need to put some light on. Let's reading some more. For freezing. Let's read. It's 7 p.m.
Anu. This is a good article. Click here for more information. Anu Sky Father, King of the Gods. Symbols of various deities including Anu. Bottom right corner, on a Kudaru of Ritim Marduk, from Sipar, Iraq, 1125-1104. Sabot heaven symbol horned crown on a pedestal number 60. Personal information. Parents Samshar and Kishar, Alala and Balilai. Consort Antu, Ki or Yorash, equated with Ichita. Manu, in a single inscription, for children Enki, Ishkernin Nizina, Ninkarakamaru, Gaibal Yorash, Nizaba, sometimes, 1, Enlil, sometimes, 2, 3, Inanna, sometimes, equivalents. Anu, Arcadian, Anu, from in sky, heaven, or Anum, originally an Sumerian, and 10, was the divine personification of the sky, king of the gods, and ancestor of many of the deities in ancient Mesopotamian religion. He was regarded as a source of both divine and human kingship, and opens the enumerations of deities in many Mesopotamian texts. At the Sumer time, his role was largely passive, and he was not commonly worshipped. It is sometimes proposed that the Eanna temple located in Iraq originally belonged to him, rather than Inanna. But while he is well attested as one of its divine inhabitants, there is no evidence that the main deity of the temple ever changed, and Inanna was already associated with it in the earliest sources. After it declined, a new theological system developed in the same city under Seleucid rule, resulting in Anu being redefined as an active deity. As a result, he was actively worshipped by inhabitants of the city in the final centuries of the history of ancient Mesopotamia. Multiple traditions regarding the identity of Anu's spouse existed, though three of them, Ki, Yorash, and Antu, were at various points in time equated with each other, and all three represented Earth, similar to how he represented heaven. In a fourth tradition, more sparsely attested, his wife was the goddess Namu instead. In addition to listing his spouses and children, god lists also often enumerated his various ancestors, such as Amshar or Alala. A variant of one such family tree formed the basis of the Enma Eli. Anu briefly appears in the Akkadian epic of Gilgamesh, in which his daughter Ishtar, the Akkadian counterpart of Inanna, persuades Shin to give her the bull of heaven so that she may send it to attack Gilgamesh. The incident results in the death of the bull of heaven and a leg being thrown at Ishtar's head. In another myth, Anu summons the mortal hero Adapa before him for breaking the wing of the south wind. Anu orders for Adapa to be given the food and water of immortality, which Adapa refuses, having been warned beforehand by Enki that Anu will offer him the food and water of death. In the Hurrian myths about Kumarbi, known chiefly from the Hittite translations, Anu is a former ruler of the gods, who saw the throne by Kumarbi, who bit off his genitals and gave birth to the god Teshub. It is possible that this narrative was later. Greek equivalent Zeus. Disputed. 5. Uranus. 6. Elamite equivalent Jabru. 7. Hurrian equivalent Hamernu. 8. Achaemenid equivalent Taru Mazda. 5. Disputed. 9. The inspiration for the castration of Auranos in Hesiod's Theogony. It has also been proposed that in the Hellenistic period Anu might have been identified with Zeus, though this remains uncertain. Character. Anu was a divine representation of the sky. 11. As indicated by his name, which simply means sky in Sumerian. 12. In Akkadian, it was spelled as Anu, and was written either logographically, Dan, or syllabically, the new M.10 in Sumerian texts. Unlike the names of other deities, his was never prefaced by the Dilia sign, referred to as the divine determinative in modern literature, since it would result in unnecessary repetition, as the same sign was also read as an. 13. In addition to referring to sky and heaven and to Anu, the same sign could also be read as Dilia or Ilu, the generic term god in, respectively, Sumerian and Akkadian. 10. As the number 60 was associated with in. 14. The corresponding numeral could represent his name, 10, and in esoteric texts by extension also the readings of the sign Dilia. 15. Anu was regarded as the supreme god, 10, 16, and the major god lists, such as An equals Anum, place him on top of the pantheon. 9. He could be described as the king of the gods, 17, and was believed to be the source of all legitimate power, who bestowed the right to rule upon gods and kings alike. 16. 10. The highest god in the pantheon was said to possess the Anutu or Anuti, the Nuti, which means heavenly power, 10, or more literally Anuship. 18. In the Babylonian Enuma Eli, the gods praise Marduk, shouting, "Your word is Anu." 10. Although Anu was a very important deity, his nature was often ambiguous and ill-defined. 16. The number of myths focusing on him is small, 19, and he was only rarely actively worshipped. 20. His position has therefore been described as that of a figurehead and Oceos deity by Assyria largest Paulalimboliya. 21. Wilfred G. Lambert characterized his position as head of the pantheon as always somewhat nominal and noted that Enlil in practice wielded greater power according to the Mesopotamians. 22. Bolu similarly states that functionally the active head god was Enlil and later Marduk in Babylonia and Ashur in Assyria, not Anu. 23. Evidence from Lagash indicates that at least in the early dynastic period during the reign of Enatum and Entemena, it was Enlil, rather than Anu, who was the head of the pantheon of this city. The later offering lists provide evidence on the contrary, possibly indicating a change occurred during the reign of either the Sargonic dynasty or Gudi. 24. Xiong Huang points out that in the early dynastic period, the rulers who mention Anu in the inscriptions and refer to him as Lugal Kirka, king of the land, seem to be connected with either Ur or Iraq, while elsewhere the same epithet designates Enlil instead. 25. A text known from copies from Shuruppa-Kandibla only refers to Anu as the divine king of Iraq. 26. In later inscriptions from the period of the Old Babylonian Empire, Enlil-kith mentioned both alongside Anu or on his own as the head of the pantheon. 27. A trinity consisting of Bot, Hotham and Ea is also attested. 28. Only in Iraq in the final centuries of the first millennium BCE a change occurred, and Anu was reinvented by theologians as an active god. 23. Astral role. In Mesopotamian astronomy, the sky was divided into 3 zones, with the stars closest to the pole belonging to Enlil and those close to the equator to Ea. 28. The stars located between these 2 zones were the domain of Anu. 28. All 3 were referred to as the ways of the respective deities. 29. Astronomer John G. Rogers assumes that the boundaries of each way were at 17 degree N and 17 degree S. 30. The division is started in the astronomical treatise Mul.Apin. 28. The date of its composition is unknown, though it is known that it is more recent than the Old Babylonian period, and the oldest reference to the tripartite division of the sky comes from a document from the 13th century BCE, a version of the so-called prayer to the gods of the night, whose oldest copies do not mention this concept yet. 28. In Seleucid Iraq, Anu's astral role was extended further, and in a text composed in year 71 of the Seleucid era, 2164/215 BCE, he is described as responsible for the entire firmament. 31. Furthermore, 2 circumpolar stars started to be called the Great Anu and Antu of heaven and received offerings as if they were real deities. 31. They typically appear alongside the other 7 major celestial bodies which were known to Mesopotamian astronomers in the late 1st millennium BCE, the Sun, the Moon, and the planets Nibiru, Jupiter, Dilbert, Venus, Io, Mercury, Chiron Mu, Saturn, and Albert Mu, Mars. 32. Iconography. Anu almost never appears in Mesopotamian artwork and has no known recognizable anthropomorphous iconography. 16. References to him holding typical symbols of divine kingship, such as a scepter and a ring-shaped object, are known from textual sources. 33. A text from the Kassite period explains that Anu's symbol was a horned crown on a pedestal. 34. It is attested on some Kudaru boundary stones. 34. Where it is typically present in the upper half of the decoration, below the symbols of Ishtar, Shamash and Sin, who were depicted on the very top of such monuments due to representing celestial bodies. 35. Anu was also depicted in the form of a horned crown in Neo-Assyrian reliefs. 36. According to Andrew R. George, references to the seat of a deity known from various topographical texts from both Babylonia and Assyria likely also refer to a representation in the form of an emblem placed on a pedestal. 37. It has been pointed out that Anu's symbolic depictions were identical to Enlil's. 38. A similar symbol could also represent Azza in the Neo-Assyrian period. 36. All 3 of these gods could be depicted in this form in the same reliefs. 36. Associations with other deities. Spouses. Earth is well attested as Anu's spouse. 13. Her name was commonly written without a divine determinative, and she was usually not regarded as a personified goddess. 40. 13. Another of Anu's spouses was Yorash. 41. According to Franz Wigemann, she is his most commonly attested wife. 4. She is well attested starting with the Sargonic period and continues to appear as a wife of Anu often until the Old Babylonian period. 42. A different, male, deity named Yorash served as the tutelary god of Dilbert. 43. Wigemann proposes that Walki, as generally agreed, represented Earth as a cosmogonic element. 40. Yorash was a divine representation of arable land. 44. He suggests translating her name as Tilth. 4. Falfat's etymology and meaning continue to be a matter of debate. 42. A single Neo-Assyrian god list known from 3 copies appears to combine Ki and Yorash into a single deity. 45, 46. An early incorrect reading of this entry was Kiev, which early Assyria largest Daniel. David Luckenbill assumed to be reference to the Egyptian god Jeb, an identification now regarded as impossible. 47, 46. The goddess Antu is also attested as a wife of Anu. 48. Her name is etymologically an Arcadian feminine form of Anu. 46. The god Listum equals Anum equates her with Ki. 49. While a lexical text from the Old Babylonian period with